Evening, welcome back to Falcon Blues TV, and my guest is the absolutely amazing Baz Rathbone. But before I introduce Baz, and before Baz goes off on a tangent the way he does with his excellent stories, just to give you the quick reminder, we have Jimmy Martin at the Falcon on the 2nd of November. Tickets are just a £5 for that night. So make sure you're buying the tickets at falcontravel.bigcartel.com, and I'll send you the links and everything a little later on. But Baz, welcome back to the Falcon. Welcome back to Falcon Blues TV. How are you, mate? Are you okay?
Mate, I've never been better. And I keep saying today's been the happiest day of my life. And when you get to like 66, 67 next month, as I say, things don't bother you like they used to do. And you just concentrate on just staying alive, I guess,
Yeah,
for want of a better phrase. So, yeah, things are really good, mate. Thank you very much. And you?
fantastic. Yeah, all good. Yeah, I mean, I'm
And
chatting to Baz.
Everton looking a lot healthier.
Well, the shite loss, so it's all right. Every cloud.
Yeah,
But
I watched the game.
I think if the Manchester Evening News haven't come out with Misery Side as the title for their paper for tomorrow, they're missing a trick. But anyway, you know how it is with Everton. They're either shit or they're brilliant. So,
But the
but
general pictures, the general pictures a lot better. You've got people
oh
there
yeah,
who understand the club. The new stadium's unbelievable.
yeah,
Some really good signings with a bit of flair as well. You know, to build on what they had, which was good kind of unit team. Like so, it's a lot better than it was 3 or 4 months ago.
oh definitely. But let's talk about you then, Baz, because things are happening now. I mean, last time I think we spoke, you were at Blackburn for a time, and then everything just seemed to have moved on in the last 6 months since we spoke.
Mate. So I did 100 days at Accrington. It was unbelievable. It was just 100 days, and especially what happened at the end. It was incredible. And the diary's about the 100 days. And then I
Right.
left that. I left that, and I said, That's it. I'll never work for a football club again." But then a couple of weeks later, I got a phone call from Salford. They didn't have a physio, so I filled in there for probably about 6 or 8 weeks. Then I packed in for the seventh time. Had a lovely summer. My son got married. Obviously, Wrexham got promoted.
Mhm.
Lovely summer, nice holidays, fantastic. Uh, Wrote my third book, and then, and you know it's coming, the phone call came, and this time it was from Eeny, Meeny, Miny, Mo, Harrogate Town, and their lady head of medicals on maternity leave until I think after into the new year. They had somebody in place, but they changed their mind at the last minute. So that's when the call comes to me. And I've been there for about 4 weeks now, maybe five. It's fantastic. I love
Yeah.
it. The people are so nice. It's a terrific club, as every club I've worked for is, but this is really, really good.
Excellent.
The only problem is that I don't live a million miles from Harrogate. I thought it would be a lovely drive in the morning across the moors, stop for the
Hmm.
Starbucks on the way. Anyway, they don't train at Harrogate. They train in a place called Rothwell, which is
Right.
like nearly 70 miles from Blackburn. So I leave at 6 a.m. in the morning. I stop I stop at Hard Sedmore for two pieces of toast and a cup of tea and get to the train around about 8:30. They're very, very kind to ask me to stay on longer and longer. I said I'll try and stay as long as I possibly can. I'll certainly do the end of October and that. But I say I really like it, and I guess never say never.
Yeah. I mean, is the plans to? I mean, if Harrogate say, okay, we're going to move on, is that are you going to keep going, or
Yeah,
you as you said off air, then this be what your 21st club with
yeah,
Harrogate.
something
So
like that. Yeah, and like I was out there on the pitch with the Harrogate lads, like I do every single day. I was playing well. A lot of my tricks and flicks were coming off. I was pinging the ball. I was pinging the ball either foot onto this lad's chest from 30 yards, left, right, left, right. So I felt fantastic in the running. Won a couple of the sprints. So why would you pack in?
when you're out running the younger lads, that yeah,
Exactly.
keep,
Why
keep
would you
it
pack
going, man,
in?
keep it going. Oh, brilliant. But we're here to talk about the Smell of Football 3, which is is this going to be the final book in the trilogy, or is
It's
there still more to come? Or
No, no, this is it, mate. Unless something pretty dramatic happens at Hearts more
yeah,
tomorrow morning. No, but I wasn't thinking of a third book. So the first book is about 35 years, me leaving school, finishes essentially at the cup final when Chelsea beat us 2-1.
Mhm.
35 years. It's about having no confidence. I know you've read them, and that kind of journey through life to gain confidence and to like yourself a bit more. The second book is 11 years and 10 clubs, and that's about growing old in a young man's sport. It goes to Man United, it goes back to Everton, it goes to Forest, it goes to the Caribbean with the England team. So that's that. But obviously, if I'd have done a third book of the same kind of scope, there'd have only been like 3 years in it.
Mhm.
So when I went to Accrington, I started jotting a few notes every day, and I thought I'll put a diary of a season because people, which surprises me, but people are fascinated, stroke obsessed with the minutiae of what goes on every day. The
Mhm.
mundane stuff that I've had 50 years of, to a lot of people, it's really interesting. So I started jotting stuff down. What happened at Accrington between 90 and 100 days was incredible. Just one of those things, but it was incredible. And on the 100th day when I left, I thought to myself, wow, I could write this as book three, 100 days in the dugout.
Yeah.
And it'd be a great insight because it's really interesting because we started the season really badly and we couldn't win a game and we kept losing in the last minute. So I thought, what a great idea to do it on a daily diary. So you've got the mundane stuff of the banter and the donuts on the birthday and how certain injuries really affect you. We had an injury there, nobody could get to the bottom of the injury. The lad couldn't play. He was a top player, top lad. So it shows you how I suffer alongside him because he could be my son and how much it affects the medical staff when this lad, we can't get him sorted out and that. But the biggest thing about it was because we kept getting beat or dropping points in like the 94th minute and how bad it is afterwards, how visceral, how awful, how angry and sad and choked up and screaming and that's every club I've worked for. That's the
Mhm.
nature. That will have been in every losing dressing room for most of the games yesterday. It became an interesting juxtaposition. That kind of gentle Monday to Friday. We did a bit of that. We did a bit of that. Then we did a bit of that. Somebody brought the donuts in. Somebody stole my boots and tied them over the crossbar. Blah blah blah. Then on Saturday, bang! This stuff gets real. It's a
Yeah.
different world, a different game, and all the niceness of the week's gone and you're really up against it. And as I say, first 9 games, I think we never won a game. Played really well. The manager and the coach were really, really good. Everything was in place and that, but we just couldn't get over that line. So I think it works out really, really well. So I didn't really plan to write the third book, but it was just like the circumstances that happened.
It was just, yeah, it just had it made perfect sense to do it. Yeah. I suppose then in a way it's a good way of showing the fans that the players care as well, because obviously you get the fan side of things where you'll just see social media and you'll see the vitriol and the bile and the crap that comes out of losing a game and the player's shit, he's garbage, he should be sold tomorrow, I'll drive him there myself, that kind of thing. But then you're seeing the players suffering, the players' reactions to it. Then I suppose that, and that's your deep dive into it.
Absolutely. In book two, I wrote a chapter about when I worked at Blackpool with Lee Clark in the Championship. And when I went there, they had 7 points from 17 games. And we lost a game at home against Middlesbrough. Interestingly, Karanka was the manager, who I later worked at Forest with. And they done us in the 95th minute, and they were jumping around in our faces, celebrating. That's fine. We all do that, like. And I talk about what happened in the dressing room after that and how bad it was and that. And I think it is interesting that, as I say, that supporters would see that side of it. And like in the last 4 or 5 years since my seventh retirement, the jobs where I fill in when somebody's gone off and somebody can't start for a month and that, where I live now in the last 3 years, it's in League Two. And at that
Yeah,
level, if you're in the Premier League and you play bad and lose your place and get really, well, you don't get released anymore, your contract's up. There's a lot of branches to hit on the way down. But when
yeah,
you're at a humble club in League Two, the results matter. And that little bit of bonus matters. And that makes a difference between maybe just getting by and being comfortably off. So it's all really, really, it all comes to a head in those situations. And I tell a story on, I don't know, day one, day two of my new book. It's obviously day one or day two of pre-season. And I walk into Accrington and I noticed there's 8 rolled up kits. And I say to George, the kitman, what's that? He goes, trialists. And then you think, oh wow, these are lads who really are kind of drinking in the Last Chance Saloon. I knew a lot of them. They'd all been at bigger clubs, higher clubs than that. And through a series of maybe the manager didn't like you so much, or whether you just had a couple of bad games, or injuries, loss of confidence, whatever. These guys are now on trial at a second division club, and it really is backs to the wall for these guys, and they are literally training and fighting and playing for their lives. And I tell quite a heartbreaking story. So on day 3, one of these lads who had played at a lot higher level but had a few injuries, fell out with the manager. Just people just are on the wrong side of luck, if you want.
Yeah.
So this lad, he comes in on day 3 and he's got a massive heel bruise from his new boots. I said, mate, I said, you need a couple of weeks off that. He said, Baz, he goes, I can't. I need to
Absolutely.
train. I've got 2 weeks here to kind of save, stroke, resurrect any career I might have.
Yeah, yeah.
This is it. This is my last chance. So I said, mate, I said, look, I said, I think if I cut a hole in the back of your boot, that might help, but it might not. I said, but the brand new 350 quid boots. He said, cut it, Baz, cut it, Baz.
Yeah.
So I took the scissors out and basically destroyed his brand new boots. He put them on, hobbled away for the warm up and that, then come back and said, no, it's still too sore. Now, this lad lived a long way away, so he couldn't come in for treatment because he couldn't really afford the petrol. So
Yeah.
we said, look, stay away and get in touch in 2 or 3 weeks when it's better. And I'll never forget him with his cannibalized boot in his hand, climbing into his car and driving away, almost with tears in his eyes. I've never seen that guy again. I don't know where
Yeah.
he is now, like, you know. So when you're down there at that level, you really, really see that other side of the game that you don't see. I think I say in my book, if you're in League Two, you're literally playing for your futures, you're playing for your mortgage, and that's not really the case in the Premier League.
It's a tough one, isn't it? I mean, like you say, League Two, it's there, or you can only go up. You can't go any lower than that, and it just sounds like it's going to be it would just you would just see that quite regularly, and that must be heartbreaking to see as well. You know, like you said, there's some players on last chance saloon, but some players who just aren't strong enough or capable enough to make that step up, and if they don't, then they're done.
Yeah, it's difficult, and like there's some really good players at these League Two clubs. They're not, with the greatest respect, they're not pub players. They're
Yeah.
good players. And when I watch training or maybe joining the passing drills, they can pass the ball, control the ball. They're decent players, but for a variety of reasons, and I say it could be injuries, not fitting in with the manager. These guys have lost their way, and as I said, they're drinking in the last chance saloon.
Yeah. So what? So the 100 days, then the actual book itself, then Mick, where did it come from? Where you actually started at Accrington? Was that because of you just finished up at Salford and then moved on to Accrington, or was that like something that was in
No,
the pipeline
no,
anyway?
no. What I started doing over the last couple of years is accepting the next job offer and putting it down to
Mhm.
fate. So I've
Yeah.
done 6 months at Oldham, or was it a year? I'm not even joking. Was it a year? I don't know. Was it 18 months? There was me, Unzi, Franny Jeffers, and Ebbs, John Ebrell. And I'd been there a while. Unzi lost his job. Mickey Mellon came in, who I
Mhm.
knew really well from when I was at Tranmere. Was that a year before or 3 years before or whatever?
Yeah.
But I'd come to the end of it and they really wanted me to stand, which is lovely and that. But I needed a change. So I give them a month's notice and I left and that, and it was great. And I got the usual sign shirt and I got to give my 7th leaving speech, which I'm really good at by now, obviously. And then it was about Jan or Feb, and I thought, you know what, I've got a few more months in me. So what I'll do, the very next phone call I take, I'm going to work for that club. By the
Yeah.
time I'd walked around Boundary Park and got in my car, somebody from Oldham had spoke to somebody at Blackpool who said we need a physio. He said, well, Baz has just left Oldham. So by the time I got round Boundary Park in my car, I got a phone call off Blackpool, and they said to me, Baz, the physio's left. We haven't got a new physio. We need somebody for blah blah blah. The usual story. And I said yes. And I'd have said yes, whatever that team would have been, because I
Mhm.
decided from now on I would just float through life and let fate take a hand. So I went to Blackpool and I was with the under 18s for a month. It was fantastic. Loved every minute of it. And that's me being a Preston player and a Preston physio. I loved it. So that's my second spell at Blackpool. Then, and this is what happens, and I knew it was coming. The first team physio went to Stockport. He gave his notice in a month or two, whatever it was, and he left. By the time they got round to getting the new guy in place and he giving his notes and that, they had no physio. So Neil Critchley, Liverpool boy, Neil Critchley asked me very kindly if I would look after the first team for the last 7 or 8 games. So we done great. I think we won 5 or 6 of them. And we went to Reading on the last game of the season. If we won, we'd have been in the playoffs. So it was a great finish. Really enjoyed it. They asked me to stay on again. They're really kind and that. And then that was it. I walked away and again threw my boots away, metaphorically speaking, and that was definitely it. Then Accrington, which is the nearest club to where I live, 5 miles away, I knew the guys
Mhm.
really well. They phoned me up and they invited me down for a coffee. We sat in the sun and they said to me, "Come on, one more year, like the Donald Trump, 4 more years, 4 more years, 4 more years." So I said, "I'll do it." And they said, "What about the games?" I said, "I'll do them as well." Wow. So I'm back in. So that was probably in June. I've got a couple of weeks off now before I start pre-season training as head of medical at Accrington Stanley. I got home. I told my son, he said, "Dad, you're 66. What are you doing? You're going back to like what you did at Halifax 7 days a week in
Yeah.
1992. Anyway, I'm honest in my book. The first 2 months were fabulous. It's pre-season, it's sunny. The lads were great. I knew half the lads. I knew all the staff. It was what a really good football club it is. It's superb. I had a great time in that. But then the weather gets a bit colder and the
Mhm.
games start and the defeats start coming, and all of a sudden it's not quite as magical anymore. I'm starting to feel tired now because we're playing Charlton away on a Tuesday night, get back in the early hours, back in Wednesday morning. I'm getting into that again.
Yeah.
I said I'd do a year, so I never would have left them. But what happened in the 100 days, in the 90 or 100 days, and I won't spoil the story, was sensational. And it left a situation whereby, unfortunately, it made it impossible for me to stay on. And it was nobody's fault.
Yeah.
It was the perfect storm of a game and a situation. And I say, I have no bad feelings to anybody against it. I say in the book, if I'd have been in that position, I probably would have been the same. Like it was just,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
was what it was. It was the perfect storm of the need to win, the pressure, the incident. Everything came together in that crucial 95th minute against Morecambe, where we were 2-0 up. Now we're 2-1 up. And if we lose that game, you don't have to be an expert to know. If you lose, we were 91st in the league, they were 92nd.
Yeah.
If we lose that game, there's going to be changes. So there's a massive, massive pressure like the guys at the top don't really have because, as I said before, at the lower level, it's pressure for paying your bills and stuff. So it was kind of a perfect storm, and I've got to say, it made for a fantastic book.
Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah.
saying I want, but at the end of the day, I left and I wanted to leave, but I never would have left, and nobody saw that in me. But I'm always brutally honest. I was finding it really hard, but I say nobody saw it in me, and I regretted going just for the sheer workload of it all.
Mhm.
But what happened? It left my position untenable, and as I say, I won't say it got me out, but it allowed me to leave, and
Yeah.
and then I started thinking, wow, this could be a really good book because a lot of people are fascinated by that trivial minutiae of the day-to-day stuff. We had a really horrible injury that nobody could work out, and this lad was suffering so badly, and we tried everything everywhere with everybody else and every kind of investigation. And I'm living that guy's nightmare for him
Yeah.
and with him. And I love the guy, and he bought both my books anyway, so he's a friend.
He's happy now.
He's a friend for life. And I talk about it in the book. If I guess in the medical room, in the medical fraternity, it might be frowned upon to be like that close to the player, where and maybe we should be more objective. Look, I never injured him; he's injured, bad luck. But it tears his heart out. It tears my heart out.
Mhm.
It tears his family's heart out. And I think because my son's a footballer
Yeah.
who's just had a really bad ankle injury, so he was on the bench at Stoke yesterday for the first time since the last game of last season. So as a parent, I think maybe it hits you harder than that. So in amongst the book, a lot of stuff happened, and this from virtually day 9 to when I left, this downward spiral of this lad's injury and how badly it affected him and me and how badly it affected the team because he was the best player or one of the best players. So that's kind of that. A lot of things all came together to make it a very viable thing to write the book and that. And as I say, I'm really proud of it because there was no room for another book about, because it was only 3 years, 4 years since my second book come out. But this, and I wanted to write a trilogy, and I don't want to, big myself up, but I'm really proud because only I think 1.5% of manuscripts that are submitted get published. And I'm lucky enough and honoured to have had 3 books published by professional publishers. So I'm really pleased.
Yeah.
And in a funny kind of way, you don't make loads of money. If you spend the equivalent time taking other people's dogs a walk, you make more money. But it's the pride in that. And without going massively over the top, when I've gone, I'll be leaving them behind, won't they?
That's your legacy. Yeah, of
Yeah,
course.
all right.
Yeah.
I'm not. It's not exactly David Copperfield and Oliver Twist, but I think as a trilogy they would take some beating, and
Yeah.
they've got a bit of it. You've read them anyway. They've got a bit of everything in for everybody, and it
Yeah,
is
of course,
kind of the story of football from 1975 to 2025. And that's my 50 years I've had since I left school that day. So I'm really, really proud of him. And as I say, without going all gooey and pathetic and that, although I am going to do it now, I think it's like a bit of a legacy to leave behind, and that like long after my horrible performances are forgotten.
No, but it's true, isn't it? Everyone wants to leave that lasting impression on people, and you certainly have, not just on the football and fraternity, but throughout everything. I mean, you've come here, you've come to the Falcon, you've spoken about your footballing career, but then you're talking about your time where you've had to look after players for injuries and things like that, and it's just it's the side of things that people don't see, I suppose, as well, as I said before, where about the players' reactions to losing a game and stuff like that. It's the nuances, like you say, and the little things that you think, oh, that probably just wouldn't be that interesting in a football, in a football club, but it actually is. And
Yeah.
surprisingly, it's a really, really good book. Both the first 2 books are excellent. If you haven't read them, I encourage you to do it. Get it on eBay because you can barely get them now, Baz. You struggled to get them in the Falcon when you were here, and I suppose if this one sells as well as the last 2, then this will be a rarity as well.
Yeah, I'll probably get buried with a copy of each one, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I've just thought of that. But it is interesting, and I know I'm a fan. I went to watch Wrexham play yesterday. As a Wrexham fan, we lost 1-0. My son didn't play; he was on the bench. He didn't get on, so it's not quite as visceral as it would normally be. Like and since he's been there, we've only seen wins anyway. But let me tell you, as I know as a supporter, I was a Blues fan when I was 14, 15. As bad as a supporter feels, and I know fans can't go home, can't eat the tea and all that. I get that, and that's what makes it so magical. But trust me, and I was only, in inverted commas, only the physio at Everton. And when we got done in the last minute, I think we got done at Fulham once. We got done at Newcastle once, winning 1-0. Shearer scored a worldie, and then I think Lee Tyone goaled it. I've been on the wrong end of loads of them. And as a player, I remember once playing for Blackburn at Ellen Road, full house, we're winning 1-0. There's no time, it's over. What a result. Bang, they equalised. Then they scored the winner. And that feeling, and it's that kind of juxtaposition, we're on the floor and you feel sick and you want to die. And that feeling inside you, it's just, And then they're all running around in the noise of their supporters, and they're all jumping around, and the noise in their dressing room, singing and the music on and that. So trust me, the players really, really feel it as bad as the supporters.
Yeah. Well, listen, Baz, I'll wrap this up because we're here to promote the book as well. So if you want to actually buy Mick's book, you can buy it on the little QR code there. So if you scan that, that'll take you to Amazon. Sorry, Baz. I mean, it's the easiest way for people to get it. Or
Sounds
you can get
fantastic.
you can get in touch with Baz through Twitter as well. I'm sure to be able to arrange a signed copy for you as well.
Of course.
but it's also available on Amazon, Waterstones, all the bookshops.
Yeah, usual retail outlets.
Excellent stuff. Right, well, Baz, I'm going to sign this off, mate, but it's been an absolute pleasure listening to more stories about your career and everything else. And I hope you do continue on past 67 next week, as you said.
Yeah.
You know, is the 68, 69, 70 as a physio in as many football clubs as you can.
Listen, one final thing. When I was 50, I ran around Goodison in 50 seconds. That was so hard. That was flat out, collapsing in a heap. That takes some doing. Every year since, on my birthday, I've run around the pitch where I work in the equivalent seconds of my birthday. So in 3 weeks' time, I'll be running around Harrogate town in 67 seconds. And you know the weird thing about it? It's getting easier because those extra additional seconds every year.
They give you that extra bit, extra bit of yards.
So I reckon I'll do it in probably 60 seconds. I'm not sure how big their pitch is. So I've done that every single year. And I think what I'll do, the day I can't do it, I'll pack in.
That's a great way to look at it, Baz, definitely. You should record that as well. Let's see that.
Funnily enough, 2 years ago when I was 65 at Oldham, the press got wind of it, the local Oldham media people, and they said, "Can we film it?" I said, "Come on, guys, have you got nothing better to put on than to film me running around the pitch?" And they went, "No." So I said, "Oh, okay then." After training tomorrow, my birthday, so they came down. Everybody had gone. A lad called Mick Fondop, he stayed behind to be my personal assistant. Right, everybody gone. They came down. They put a camera in each corner of the pitch.
Lovely hell.
I thought, oh my God, what? I felt sick with nerves, felt the pressure. Oh my God, if I don't do this. Anyway, did in 60 seconds. So there you go.
Amazing. Yeah. So 67 seconds is your next one to beat them, Baz, definitely.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I'm very confident.
Good stuff. Right. I'll wrap this up. So make sure you like and subscribing to the channel. Follow us on Twitter, on Facebook, on X, on what's the other ones, Instagram, and all the, you know where they all are. But for now, Baz, thank you so much.
Thank you. Really enjoyed it, mate. Thank you.
Cheers, man. Take care.